Hi everybody, and welcome back to our video series at Consultus. This is Consultus Chat. Today's session is going to be focused on metering and more specifically around the market-wide half-hourly settlement. I'm joined by Cameron.
Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm the metering and data team lead here at Consultus.
Brilliant. We'll get into it. To kick us off, Cameron, can you just give us a bit of an outline in terms of what you and your team do here at Consultus for us?
Yeah, so we obviously deal with metering and data for all of our clients. So it entails a lot of different processes. It can deal with query management, with contract organisation, general advice on your day-to-day metering data needs. We also look after the data that attributes to the portal, My Energy as well. So yeah, a lot of kind of top level things, but we can get kind of involved with a lot of the nitty gritty day-to-day query management as well, and basically deal with getting the best rates for clients and customers.
Okay, great. For those that wouldn't know, what are all the different types of meters that are out there? Well, I hear a lot of the jargon, so the AMR, smart meters, non-half-hourly, MHHS. Can you just give us a quick rundown of a few of the different meters that are out on the market?
Yeah. So the main ones you really need to know about are non-half-hourly, half-hourly, and gas. AMR is usually meant for the readers that are attached to non-half-hourly meters, and smart meters usually are attributed to SMETS meters, which suppliers are usually pushing, not so much the metering providers themselves. Reason for that is they can get locked off with suppliers being able to control the data. We here at Consultus and the providers we work with don't really like that. We want our clients to have control of their data. So non-half-hourly, as it basically states, is a meter that's not always compatible with sending half-hourly data. Half-hourly meters, they can send the data, and AMRs are automatic meter readers that are attached to gas and non-half-hourly meters that enable it to transmit data.
So why would customers look to install half-hourly meters and have access to good quality data? What's the reason for that?
A few different reasons. The main reason effectively is to know your usage at all times of the day, which would then lead to cost-efficient savings. Another reason would be to kind of boost your progress and journey towards net zero as well. Obviously, the target at the moment, I believe, is 2050, and obviously it's a long way away, but the earlier you get that sorted, the easier it will be to make sure you're on that path. So yeah, effectively knowing when you're using the data, the usage, knowing when to load heavily. You can transmit it sometimes overnight and know where your usage is coming from there. And effectively, cost saving, net zero is the main two kind of focuses for good quality data. Without that, a lot of it is estimated, unfortunately, meaning your billing is a lot of the time incorrect and focused on historical usage figures.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times. A lot of conversations I'm having with customers is they're now looking at implementing measures specifically around net zero, and they need good quality data to verify the ROI on any sort of projects that they've proceeded with. So I suppose that's a key focus for the team you're working with.
Yeah, of course, yeah. A lot of the similar to us, a lot of the interactions we have with customers are making sure that to make use of the plans that are in place, that data is needed, and we are very hot on making sure that where they have the half-hourly meters installed, AMRs installed, that data is accurate and 100% there, just like you said, to make sure they're fulfilling what they're expected of, and like you said, ROI is there.
Sure. Who pays for the meter? Is it customers? Are they paying for it, and the meter operators, the data collection and things? Is the supplier paying for that? Is the customer paying for that?
Yes, there's a few different options really. From a top level, it's best to kind of know how you're doing it first off, whether you're leasing or purchasing meters. At the end of the day, it'll always be the client or customer that's paying for those meters. A lot of the time, it will come through the supplier. There is some funding that they would put in place, but it doesn't always happen. If you're going direct, it will always be the client and customer that's obviously paying for that. Benefits to both sides, but a lot of upsides going direct, and kind of skipping out the supplier appointment.
Sure. And is that, I suppose, something for customers to look out for if they're not aware that they're paying for metering, to maybe check where those charges are to make sure that they're aware of the rates they're paying?
Yeah, 100%. We see it a lot on most of our customers' bills, where those charges are sometimes hidden into the standing charges. They're attributed into sometimes the rates of energy as well, and it's really hard to kind of navigate how much and where those charges are going to and from. You can negate all that really kind of with a direct contract. In I'd say probably 90% plus of our clients we deal with, we're saving them money by going direct to the providers that we have relationships and links with.
And as I understand it, the further benefit of going direct is that if you then change supplier for your supply contract, you still maintain a constant flow of data, and you're in control of that regardless of which supplier you're with. Is that correct?
100%, yeah. So direct contracts can range in years, but they usually last on average 5 years. Obviously, procurement contracts don't always do that, so there is going to be changes in suppliers. If you're going direct, you're with the same supplier for your meters. The data will continue flowing as normal. If you're switching suppliers and you've had your metering through that supplier, there's going to be kind of some interruption in data, and as I've said earlier, kind of accurate 100% data is what you're looking for. It can get a bit iffy if you're on that supplier appointed level.
And is that interruption because not all suppliers use the same meter providers, so they may have to change meters and things like that if you change suppliers? So.
Exactly, yeah. Especially with on the power side, which is what's affecting market-wide half-hourly settlement. If they're changing MOPs when you're changing suppliers, which will happen if you change a supplier, it 100% will happen. Meters will have to be replaced again effectively if they can't adopt them, which again is not 100% accurate to take place effectively. So yeah, massive interruption to not just the data but potentially physical engineer appointments that might have to take place every 1 to 2 years depending on how often you switch.
Sure. You've just touched on it there, but there's obviously a big change in the metering market going on. The market-wide half-hourly settlement. So enlighten us. What is that? Why is it coming in? Who's it going to affect?
So everyone, effectively. It's the biggest change since it was kind of passed to private companies, effectively. So, it's going to affect every single electric meter in some way, whether it's digital or physical. It's going to affect you. So, roughly around 30 million meters in the UK, and about 2.6 of those are commercial. So, it's quite a big percentage of that. So, effectively, all data now has to be half hourly. So there's a massive push for that from Ofgem. It's been going on for years already. It's going to go on for another few years. We need to kind of get geared up for it effectively.
So what will you and your team be doing to help those customers affected navigate through this change?
Yeah, so obviously there's two ends to it effectively. There's obviously the prep and organisation, and there's obviously the aftercare of it. So we are already a kind of oiled team in that department, but we're growing that as well. So we'll be looking after the potential contracts that you might want to put into place if you're going to go direct. As previously mentioned, it's more advised to do so. We will deal with negotiations of said contracts. We can deal with any queries as well that may come from that, and listen to any requirements from your side. We'll basically be kind of the middleman between those, the you and the provider to kind of do that work for you. And then we also have obviously the aftercare where we can portfolio manage if needs be. We can monitor usage and data as well of the half-hourly data that will be coming through. Look for trends. Again, more intensive in terms of any faults that may arise, which is definitely being cracked down on with the market-wide half-hourly settlement. Pretty much anything that we're requested of, I'm sure we can find a way to fulfil it. Is
there a deadline associated to this? When do meters need to be changed by?
Yes, so March 2026 is the deadline for this. So effectively, if it's not kind of upgraded to half hourly by then, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get charged on half hourly rates. So you need to make sure that you're getting in earlier rather than later for that. So March 2026 is the deadline, which obviously sounds like a long way away, but in the energy industry, it's not, unfortunately. So that's the date we're working towards. But the acting sooner rather than later is pivotal, because there's undoubtedly going to be shortages of engineers, shortages of people to deal with contracts and staff management at the metering providers the closer we get to that time frame.
Sure. So we've spoke about the benefits, and the reason why they're doing that is to give every customer access to better quality data.
Yep.
What are the challenges? You mentioned a couple of them then, but are there any other challenges that you expect customers to be aware of as we go through this transition, and potentially any learnings from P272, which was sort of a similar change that we saw a few years ago?
Yeah, so obviously P272 is kind of bled over a decade almost now. It's still kind of going on, so very advantageous to kind of implement this all within a few years. So yeah, to be honest, a lot of it will fall down to the digital side of things in terms of the appointments. So as I mentioned, it's not just affecting upgrades of sites and AMRs, it's affecting the digital side with your MOP appointments, your DC appointments. They all come through your supplier. They all have to be de-appointed and reappointed with new terminology, which means there can be some mix-up going forward if we don't get it right, and that's another reason why we're kind of so focused on this early on, to stop that disruption, help our clients and customers navigate kind of potentially the unforeseen with that happening. So yeah, there is the physical side with the lack of appointments, engineering availability, but there's also the flip side as well. So yeah, there was a lot to learn from P272. I'm not too sure if how geared we up for are up for it as in terms of the industry, but that's why we're here. We're helping you navigate that, and such a short time frame, such a large amount of meters. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
So to be clear, is this a physical change of meter for everybody affected? Will that mean that we suddenly go to site? Will there be power outages or anything like that for customers?
Yeah, there shouldn't be out of the norm, effectively. If you have a half-hourly meter, great, you're sorted. But again, as we know, that's not technically the case. There are still hundreds of thousands of non-half-hourly meters out there. Again, not to worry, there doesn't have to be power downs. If you have a non-half-hourly meter, you can apply for an AMR, which is, again, as mentioned earlier, just a small device that tags onto the end of the meter. No power downs, 15 to 20 minutes roughly for an appointment, and easily done, compared to where meter exchanges, depending on the size, can take some hours. There's a cheaper and more efficient route to do so, and I think AMR is the way to go on that one. But again, if you've got a half-hourly meter, no disruption whatsoever, you can go on as normal.
So effectively, there are potentially different options to navigate through this. It's all going to be dependent on your individual site and your individual metering setup at the moment, and the advice really is to speak to somebody to understand the best route to become compliant, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the whole regulation's around, is becoming compliant with this, and the potential for disruption going forward. So yeah, AMRs are a route. Upgrading to half-hourly is also a route if possible, potentially more expensive, but it is a possibility. Yeah, there's multiple options out there, different types of loggers and AMRs and things like that. So yeah, loads of options, and we've got a full host of list of relationships with different providers who offer those different options.
Is the onus on the customer to do this, or is it the suppliers or the meter operators? Whose overall responsibility is this?
To be honest, both. It is obviously the onus of the supplier first off, but there has to be some kind of buy-in from the customer and client. So yeah, metering providers obviously are kind of the hand that's implementing it. Suppliers are really the ones that need to be pushing it, which some people may have already kind of seen with constant emails about smart meters and things like that. So yeah, although that's the case, there is obviously talk that I've had with multiple providers about potential for fines and things to come into place if that deadline's not met. There's nothing to say currently that's not going to be passed on to the customer in some form, whether it's a standing charge addition or something like that. So although the onus is technically on the supplier, there has to be buy-in from the client as well.
Sure. We've spoken a lot already now about electricity in particular. Does your team look after gas and water, and is it similar in those with those fuels as well?
Yeah, so at the moment, obviously, the market-wide half-hourly settlement is just power. Not to say that's not going to happen to gas in 5 to 10 years' time. So yeah, we look after kind of all forms as Consultus does. So we look after obviously electric and gas metering. We've also implemented quite a few contracts now with water as well. So we've got a good relationship with a few different water meter providers. We also do sub-metering as well. So for that really kind of crack level down to the T sort of data that you might need, for example, pools at leisure centres and things like that, which would only further kind of your progression to net zero. We look after that as well. But yeah, we're always open to new ideas, but at the moment, those are the 4 kind of factors that we focus on.
That's great. No, thanks very much.
Cool. Thanks.